All right, well now it is my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Davidson, who leads our Campus and Data Center Business Unit, the mastermind behind MetaFabric. So, Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mike. I always like humble introductions. That makes things very simple. So this is, we're going to continue on with the same thing around actually bringing up our partners and customers to talk about exactly what they're doing. So before we get going and I introduce our distinguished guest up, what I'd like to do first is go ahead and roll a video to tell you a little bit about what Cloud Dynamics actually does. So let's roll the video, please.
We are True Cloud, the most efficient and powerful compute power generation for the cloud and beyond. We walk the open walk with every line of code, every day. All of our products are built on 100% genuine open platforms in full compliance with the standards. Our entire development team comes from a world where comprehensive security is not a design goal or an option. It's in their DNA. The only way for our cloud DCs to be more secure would be to power them down. In a perfect world, security and privacy would always go together, which is why we had to build our privacy standard for the decidedly imperfect world called reality, in which most of us reside. On paper, reliability may be expressed in nines or mean time between failures, but in a live operation, it's measured by the level of noise that floats up to the C-suite. Our data centers are engineered to be super quiet and to promote that level of quiet throughout your enterprise. Cloud DC from Cloud Dynamics is a zero-touch modular data center that includes everything needed to deliver true cloud, data center facility, cooling, power, servers, storage, network, switches, routers, operational tools, cloud automation orchestration software, and cloud management platform. All in a grid interconnected by a super high-speed, near-zero latency, highly secure and private network to keep up with a world of big data and the upcoming Internet of Things era where speed and latency are essential. Cloud DC. Infinite. Software defined. Available now.
Exciting. So it's always great to have distinguished guests here with us. So I would go ahead and like to invite up Vijai Karthigesu up to the stage. Welcome, Vijay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Great to have you up here. Have a seat. All right. So there's always lots of different definitions for cloud. All right, so why don't we start off with the basics? What is a cloud to you?
That's an excellent question. There are lots of technical definition about cloud. I always start with what is cloud not. Cloud is not a technology. It is a business model. It's a business model that enables organizations to deliver or consume IT efficiently and effectively. That's what cloud is. We are using technologies, new and old, to deliver that business model.
Perfect. So there was, in the video, there was a word that jumped out at me. And you were talking about a true cloud.
Yeah.
So that means there's not true clouds. But could you help me define for everyone here what a true cloud is?
Sure. So what we mean by true cloud, what is an enterprise or customer needs? Mm-hmm. They need, there are words about private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, but end of the day, the enterprise need, they have different workloads. Mm-hmm. They have to optimize the workload for cost, performance, security, and privacy. So just having a cloud for dev environment or having a cloud just in private is not true. Mm-hmm. So you have to actually have a platform that enables them to optimize their workload. So that's what true cloud is.
That sounds great. So why don't you tell me a little bit about Cloud Dynamics and what in effect do you do?
So when we believe in the big data and the Internet of Things. So in order to handle it, our belief, actually it's excellent to see the telco cloud and everybody's talking about. Our belief is the future of data centers are going to be the POP sites, the head ends of the cable companies, or the downtown core buildings, and every building is going to have it. A small data center interconnected with high-speed network and orchestrated with software-defined networking. Three simple reasons. One is cost. We talked about moving data, especially moving this amount of data back and forth for real-time applications is going to be very costly. Number two is tolerance for delay. Lag is death in gaming. Lag is lost revenue in mobile engagement. And me and you can have a tolerance for 100 milliseconds, but as Saigon and Rahim mentioned, you need 30 milliseconds. So the tolerance for delay in the next generation is going to be very low. How do you move a big lots of data into a data center that is 100 miles away and bring it back with the result of 30 milliseconds? You can't. So you have to keep the data closer. So what we built is a solution that can transform a POP sites, head-ends, and the space that cannot be leased in a downtown core building into a high-density cloud data center.
So you're saying that you need to have a lot of distributed data centers around multiple places to make sure you can have the appropriate performance and latency for those applications that are traversing the infrastructure, similar to what we were talking about earlier with Tele2 and TW Telecom. I think it ties back into what they were saying. So does that mean that there's the end of the big, huge, massive data centers?
No, it's not. It's not. It's a complementary. The applications are going to be different categories. If you're talking about mobile engagement, and talk about an example application of mobile engagement in a retail store. And Jonathan goes to a grocery, you go with a cart and walk around. And those retail stores are set up for this generation. The next generation, junior Jonathan, is going to go with the phone. And to see the shelf structure is no longer any, so it's now the actual retailers have to provide the data real time to that user and information, where the things are, about reviews and everything. And any lack on that information is going to be lost opportunity and lost revenue. Right. And the other example is pushing rich content. If you want to stream 4K video to the user, you better be closer to the user.
Exactly. Nobody wants to have 1 million users downloading 4K streams from one location. That's probably not a good idea.
So the big data, the data centers are going to be there for what I call it tiered data. So once you have the real-time data processed on real time, now you can use the quality of services. It's like the old days when we do batch processing. So where you have network bandwidth, you just move the data for archiving and storage or different purposes or analytics. And so this is going to complement both.
I think also one of the analysts was talking about how this could potentially help machine-to-machine type of communication as well.
That's going to be, the Internet of Things is all about machine-to-machine, and the latency tolerance for that is not going to be there. The tolerance is almost going to be zero.
So we talked about repurposing the basements of buildings or the head end and for cable companies. How important is it to connect these different things together? 'Cause I think that's a big part of what you're offering as well.
So when we build this solution, we kind of thought through. I think probably we are one of the IT guys really working with this heating and cooling. It's not that we want it, but that's one of the solutions that you needed to kind of transform them. So we have a patent technology that we can build smaller data centers very fast and cost effective. But the important thing there, the next one, is the converged infrastructure fabric, which is the server, storage, network, firewall, everything, the load balancers. And what we wanted to make sure, we actually give the client a vendor-neutral and an open concept framework. So we built something called Loom. Loom is a fabric maker. So in Loom, we actually put Contrail in there, an OpenStack, CloudStack, monitoring system, ITSM tools, so everything that needed to automate and build the fabric. So with Loom, they can plug in any servers, any storage, just plug it in, it actually builds it for them. And on top of that, so that gives them the actual automation of the fabric, which is a very important thing because if in a delivery of IT delivery, the cost of CapEx is very small compared to the operational cost.
Exactly.
And so the more you automate, and this is where our vision and Juniper's vision, kind of aligned, everything has to be automated. So not only that you're reducing the cost of operation, plus you're taking human hand out of day-to-day operation. And that increases your reliability.
Right. So you're saying less humans equals more reliability?
Of course. And then on top of it now, we actually developed a software called cloud data center orchestration system. If we call it CDOS. What CDOS does for the service providers, it talks to the, in southbound, it talks to the loom and provide all the automation connectivity to the private cloud, public cloud, or even any type of stack. But in the northbound, it gives the API, unified APIs, or a customer portal, billing engines, reporting. So end of the day, everything that is all integrated for them as an appliance type concept. So that's important. So now they can go to market very fast.
So how does, or does things like OpenStack and CloudStack, how does that tie into your CDOS?
So OpenStack, CloudStack, and Contrail, actually, it's all kind of one package. And we believe in SDN. Without SDN, you cannot deliver through cloud. So with that, and so it's API. One of the reasons we selected Contrail for the APIs, the northbound and the southbound APIs. There are many other reasons. The other reason we selected Contrail for, when we looked at the Contrail, we have to work with service providers. Service providers have an existing backbone. So you have to have an engine that understands the existing technologies and work with the technologies. So we actually looked at many SDN products, and when we look at the Contrail, if you want to deliver SDN today, we found only Contrail is a solution, unless you want to wait 3 years for others to figure out how to deal with it. And
what did you see as the big differentiator when looking at Contrail and other systems that were out there today?
Two main, one is the API capability that give us the capability to orchestrate northbound and southbound. Plus, also the capability east to west. So we believe in distributed data centers. When you believe distributed data centers, Contrail gave us the capability through CDOS. Now we can orchestrate customers' workload into multiple data centers. So we abstract the complexity to the service provider. So service provider, it is very complex if you look at it. We actually have our own algorithm, how to orchestrate the customer workload in there. So with the capability of Contrail. The next one is the protocols. So we have to work with the existing telco protocol, the MPLS, so the GRE over MPLS, and, or the MPLS over GRE tunnels. Right. So the southbound and the northbound protocol. So those are the main reason, and the maturity. And we needed to deliver a service now. 3 years from now, the opportunity is gone.
So one of the things I found very interesting, and ties into what Shaigan and Rami and Vince were talking about earlier, was about the need to co-create and to collaborate together to build a unique and fundamentally differentiated product for you to take to market. And so you were explaining to me earlier, the different ways that you're organized, but also what really was keen to me is how you were working with our Contrail team to build unique things for you to be able to solve your needs. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Sure. That's actually, it's not just Contrail. I used to work with Juniper a long time ago. And one of the reasons that we actually work with Juniper is the capability that we can actually go to the developer and work with them. So with the Contrail team, what we are trying to do is kind of unique and trying to convert these POP sites. And usually SDN kind of focuses within the four walls of data center, within the LAN. So how do we transcend from LAN to WAN? How do we kind of take the SDN and move it into different distributed data centers and orchestrate our workload? How to scale, not within the data center, how to scale geographically in a distributed data center. So we are working very closely with the Contrail team. So Contrail team does code, and we actually write our code simultaneously, and we actually make it work. So it's a very tight relationship.
So it sounds like an ideal co-development model.
Yes.
And as part of going through building out your product offering and working with your customers, how important is this concept of open? We hear that term tossed around quite a bit, but what does it mean to you from not only a technical perspective but from a business perspective?
So the business point of view, open means no lock-in. So when you have when you're locked in with something, you are dead. And because you're actually stuck with that, and whether you cannot move. So it has to be open. And that's the future. If you're not, and innovation, if you are not open, you cannot innovate. And so from day one, we actually believe in openness. It has to be open. It has to be API economy. It has to be connect to multi-vendors and different clouds and different everything. And it's all about any-to-any rather than just locking in with one technology or one vendor.
Right. From my perspective, I always viewed open as a way for us to prove to our customers and our partners that we're going to continue to fight and try to earn your business every single day. Because we know if we're open, you can turn and go somewhere else at any point in time. So how did open play out in this arrangement?
So exactly. Actually, it forces you to be more innovative. To be the leader, and it forces us to be more innovative to the customers. And it actually forces us to work very closely in an open environment. And it's actually, it ignites innovation. It actually brings out more innovation. Without open, it's like you're done, and you actually go with the next releases. If it's open, you're always on the edge. You have to innovate.
So are there, it's a bit of a loaded question, but I'll prime the pump a little bit here. So do you think that there are, obviously you have to make some tough choices about who to partner with and who not to partner with. Do you see that there are other vendors out there, and perhaps without naming any names, that aren't necessarily meeting that level of openness that would make you want to go and partner with them?
No, we haven't found anything. And there's open source. I think there's open source communities where it comes to maturity. There's open and open source is two different things.
Yes.
And when we deliver, and the telcos actually, they'll be talk about reliability, maturity. It is not a Mickey Mouse cloud. When you have a telco cloud, you have to have a reliable partner. And you have to have a partner that, we are a company that we don't have to build all the supporting, and I have to be able to rely on some partner to give me all the support. And it's all about reliability and bring in a high quality service rather than just being open source or open.
I think that's going to be a quote of the day without offending the guy with two big ears. You can't have a Mickey Mouse cloud. I think everybody should be tweeting that right now. So talking also a bit more about where things are going open, how does what you're doing, is there tie-ins to AWS and those types of services? Do your customers need those?
Yes, so when we define through cloud, we tie into AWS, we tie into Azure, we tie into Google, and we give on-prem, off-prem, all the capabilities through the CDAS. And what we actually give them is not just the connectivity, that's API. What enterprises need is a control mechanism, how they can actually understand their workload and help them optimize it through a well-defined service catalog. And also give them a mechanism they can actually go and audit where things are, and they can actually have compliance, because when you talk about enterprises, compliance is a big thing. And compliance means audit capabilities. So you're not just going out there and put some workload in Amazon or private cloud. It's all about how you control compliance and privacy and security.
Right, and I love actually the way that you have come up with a mechanism to, I'll say it this way, quantify the cloud. Having the technologists understand what a cloud is can even be a daunting task, but trying to explain it to a CFO who typically understands widgets can be a complicated task. But you have come up with a pretty unique way to help facilitate, facilitate that conversation. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. When we talk to the IT guys, they all understand CPU, memory, network, and all the units. The problem with them is when you go to the upper chain, CFO don't understand any of them. So you put all the CapEx and OpEx and all these costs into the data center. End of the day, if you want to find out that department or that application, what is the percentage of my investment they are using, there's no way today. And I was there, and I couldn't figure it out. So what we did...
Wait, so when you said you were there, you did this?
I was in the enterprise world, and we were trying to do that. We couldn't figure it out. So what we did, actually, we looked at it and said, how can we abstract this technical jargons and simplify it to the upper management? So we actually used ABC, the activity-based costing model, to figure out some sort of unique cost. And then using multivariate analysis, we actually get drag coefficients for each and every unit. Now, through this engine, we can actually, if you create a VM, for example, say 2 CPUs and 4 memories, 2 times that coefficient plus 4 times that memory coefficient, it gives a number that is dimensionless. So we call it CRU, Cloud Resource Unit. So when we built this cloud and for the CFO and said, here's your 1,000 CRU cloud, everything is abstracted for them. So they can actually go back and decompose and see what that means, and the technical guys can. CFO, 1,000 CIUs. Engineering department, here's your 100 CIU. QA, here's your 500 CIU. So we actually created, and they understand how to manage money. It's about, now 1,000 CIU look like money, and you manage it like your budget.
Right.
And we created all the transaction layer. That's why we talk about governance. So now, let's say one department goes to Google or Amazon. They create VMs. Now they have a credit. Let's say it's 100 CIU. They can do whatever they want to do. They can create it in Amazon or private cloud, wherever they want. But they are limited to that 100 CIUs. If they need, they have to go back and get more. And everything is recorded as a transaction base. So we kind of abstracted the technical detail, giving them governance on IT resources.
Exactly. So I think simplification of techno speak and being able to bubble up is, I think, a key innovation, one of the key innovations that you've done. So we've talked a lot about SDN. We haven't really talked about physical stuff. I mean, how important are routers and switches and security boxes, and how does that play into your environment?
It is very important. Actually, I openly say that it's pathetic to see some vendors still pushing core distribution and access layer architectures. That is 90s. You have servers that has actually 40 gig or 100 gig. You just plug directly into a flat fabric. Mm-hmm. So what SDN need, not the old days smart network, is basically what you need is an intelligent, fast, and a flat network that can move the packet very fast at ultra low latency. So we believe that fabric concept, and whether it's, I think Juniper, we started with Pure Fabric and now it's Meta Fabric, that fabric is the way to go. And all these different, it basically simplifies your network. And then move all the smartness into SDN. And the SDN take care of all the tenants or the customer details. And the fabric is just fabric.
Well, it's good to know that data is not being connected by the ether, and that there's still some things that we need to do. So with that, why don't we go ahead and pivot over into Q&A. If anybody has any questions, we can go ahead and right here in the second row.
Thanks. Cliff Grossner, Infonetics Research. I'm responsible for data center and cloud. And I'm actually going to ask you a non-COO or CFO question because I'm a techie at heart. And so I saw your beautiful boxes up there, and I really would like to know a little bit more about what are the parts inside there. What's the compute? What's the storage? What's the physical networking? Can you give us just a little more detail than a big box?
Sure. Other than the physical cabinet system, within there, you're talking about an appliance called Loom. And below that, there's switch. So we use the QFX 5100s or the 4200 switches, and the MX routers, SRX firewalls, HP Blade, or whether C7000s or the Dell Blades. We don't really care, or UCS. It's based on the customer preferences. They will put their blades. And storage, we work with NetApp. We work with EMC. We work with Dell. And there are different levels of storage. You got the JBoss, and you have the high-end high IOP storage, and 3 layers of storage. So it looks like a traditional box, but what we have done is we instead of using the vendor provisioning, vendor tools, we actually created a common management engine. So it doesn't matter, regardless of vendors, we can manage all these pieces together.
Thank you. By the way, congratulations to a fellow Canadian.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move right up to the front row with Zias.
And I'm Canadian too, so. Although, what I've learned in this playoff series is how much I hate the Montreal Canadiens even more. But so I'm Zias Caravallo from ZK Research. I want to follow up on Cliff's question. How much flexibility do you have for all those other components that are underneath? And how much, frankly, do your customers care what the storage is, what the server is, versus just buying the cloud service itself? So
the end customers, I would say they shouldn't care. It should be abstracted to them. And the MSPs, so our customers are service providers or MSPs. If they don't have a pre-arranged relationship, they don't really care. They just want the cost-effective solution. But some MSPs, they do have relationship with HP, for example. They would like to have HP. So that way, we are flexible enough. We actually certify them. We go through different vendors and certify some of the servers, and we provide the kind of bill of material or list to them, and they can pick which vendor they want.
All right. So you can offer them whatever they want, but ultimately, it would be your preference. Down the road, this became kind of almost hard infrastructure agnostic. And
yeah. So if you look at today, we actually have HP, Dell, IBM, Cisco, Supermicro, and Quanta. Probably you got 90% of the major vendors out there. And so we try to be open as possible that we can, but there's work involved to actually certifying and making sure these things works together.
All right.
Great. Rick Talbot with Current Analysis.
Hi, Rick Talbot, Current Analysis. So as you're looking at a future where there's more distribution of the data centers, which I take it is a little bit like today we talk about caching of content. In this case, it's the processing, actually. Can you comment on any aspects of those distributed data centers that we should keep an eye on that are going to be different than the data centers that we're familiar with today? The big topic today are these giant data centers, and there's certain things you really have to take care of, and now it's going to be a completely different scale. Have you all been looking at that?
Yeah, I'll comment in two different ways. One, I look at the CapEx and OpEx point of view. And if you want to build a traditional data center, you're talking about multi-million-dollar investment and take so long to actually even get to a break-even point. And these smaller data centers, we are talking about organic growth. You can start small and bring in the customers, and now is flexible and agile enough to grow organically. We are simply talking about a new internet being built, because the internet and the caching, that was done for the actual web world. Now we are talking about applications and data. So the traffic between the POP sites, they are going to transform into data center traffic rather than router traffic. And I would say today the telco selling dumb pipes or intelligent pipes, but in the future, telcos will be selling compute fabric as a service. And basically, the actual network should be abstracted. And instead of selling MPLS VPNs, they should actually sell fabric as a service, compute fabric as a service, and abstract everything from the customers. They don't really know and fiddle around with this network. That's complex.
That's great. We have time for one more question, and it's with Rohit.
Hi, Rohit Mehra with IDC. From the compute perspective and storage, I think you mentioned that you provide flexibility to your clients and managed service providers. By extension, I think you allude to the fact that for networking, Juniper is your chosen partner, and you don't provide that level of flexibility. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yeah, so today we partner with Juniper and use Juniper networks and firewalls. But I think this is where the openness, and it's up to Juniper to make sure that we keep using it, right? You have to be innovate. And we are actually looking at the Firefly perimeter firewalls. And that's a very unique solution that's going to give service providers the ability to differentiate from the public cloud. Now they can actually sell frontier firewalls, DDoS protection to the clients, and easier to, instead of getting into this public cloud price war, they can easily differentiate with security and privacy. And this is actually Juniper's challenge, and keep us buying your product, and you have to innovate.
So if I may just ask a quick follow-on then, if you were to fast forward and then think about how you could add more flexibility and openness on the networking side, and if you were to separate the LAN from the WAN, and even within the LAN, I'm talking more like top-of-rack, simplistic kind of an architecture, would you think or consider an open environment? Would you consider, people talked about open or white box switches or ODM or whatever. where would you draw the lines if you had a choice?
So we are actually in the lab looking at Cumulus, or looking at OCP, and even we actually, one of the rack solution we have actually, we are building a rack solution for OCP servers, because OCP servers require completely different racks. But we don't think they are mature enough today. And for the service provider, it's all about maturity, support, and when they mature, I'm pretty sure Juniper, that's their challenge to make, keep up to date with the. I'm seeing the physical hardware becoming more commoditized, and everything goes into a virtual world. So something I already seen in Juniper with the Firefly and the DDoS virtual appliance, and even Alto or the VGW. Now it is called Firefly, and so that's what I see. More and more, we are going to see more virtual appliances.
All right. So Vijay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you here. Big round of applause for Vijay.
Thank you.